All right, guys, day two on the tidal Potomac River here today. Much different day. This is what you would classify as finding out who has trouble with a curve. Because the weather threw a curveball in for the remaining anglers in the field today. Yesterday, it pretty much went as expected. We had 3 anglers with 15 or more pounds. Pretty much the huge on the tidal Potomac. And then we had 3 or 4 more with around 14 pounds, and then we dipped into that 10 to 12 pound range. I think you had to have 11 pounds to make it to today, at least on the boater side, and on the co-angler side, I think you had to have just at 6 pounds or just under 6 pounds to hit that line. But man, weather moved in last night. It actually rained yesterday too, late in the afternoon, but weather moved in last night. Turned it all up again. Was raining this morning. Overcast all morning long. Sun didn't come out till probably 10:30, 11 o'clock. It's still overcast. Probably throwing some curveballs to a lot of people that were where they were fishing yesterday. That's typically what happens when we get a lot of that rain moving in, because it's moving from west to east, and it just goes over that Potomac estuary. Probably not as bad in the northern end. As lower down in the southern portion of the estuary for the tidal Potomac, and down towards Mulberry, which is at the middle. It's a middle river, but it's at the bottom of the middle river. So it could be interesting today to see what happens with the bags and how that curveball kind of impacts the size that it's going to take to win this event. And this is the way it's going to be for the next couple days. It's looking like we got Toyota Series coming in here couple days. Most of those guys are here, have been here practicing, but we get their event starts on the 11th and runs until the 13th. And then again, we've got the Abu Garcia College event. Crazy number of college anglers are going to be here on Sunday, the 14th, and then following that, there's another super. I think on the 20th and 21st. So the tidal Potomac's getting it, man. It is getting pounded, and will continue to get pounded over the next week, for sure. But it's going to be really interesting to see. I believe we're going to see the bags increase. That's what I believe, because of the weather system we had with Hurricane Aaron and all that kind of like threw things off. It kind of threw the bass off for sure, pushed them back out. A lot of them were suspended than they were shallow, at least last week. And then now things are settling back in. We are going to get it's September. We're going to, carries over. We're going to get the evening showers. Temperatures are way down though. Water temperatures are down. And, we're in the 70s. Early morning hours are going to be in the 50s. And so you throw in that rain and cold rain, overcast, water temperatures, all those things, they're all going to throw curveballs to a lot of people than what they probably were expecting out of the Potomac River for September events. But it's going to be really, really interesting to see, because we're seeing some areas play out that don't normally play out in the top. Probably areas you're going to hear about, some areas you probably never heard of before, for major events, because that's what happens, especially in September. A lot of the major events that are here on the tidal Potomac from MLF and from Bassmaster, are here in June. They're here in late spring to early summer. They're typically not here, big events in September. So a lot of people are unfamiliar with some of these areas where a lot of these bass are getting caught. So that's always interesting when guys will talk about that, and I'm sure some of them guys will probably talk about it a little less, because some of them are probably going to be fishing as co's or maybe entered the Toyota Series event in that field, or they're going to fish the next event coming up. So they may play it a little bit tighter to the vest. But reports are coming out where the boats are. A lot of the boats, you get a field of 114. And a lot of the boats with reports coming out from guys that were out on the river yesterday, the boats are pretty much in the usual areas. They're in the Greenway Flats, they're in the Belmont Bay, they're in Mattawoman, they're in the normal areas. And then you've got guys that are out on their own, hitting those pockets in those areas that exist with that isolated clump grass and docks and things like that are going for that bite. I think that bite today, given the weather, may be a stronger bite than being out in the grass flats, like yesterday. Just my opinion, based on experience of fishing the tidal Potomac. Things change. These curveballs get thrown. Mother Nature throws these curveballs, and sometimes it takes 24 hours for the Potomac to kind of settle back in. And then you get the tide play. Early morning, you get the tides. You know, most of the big bags were caught off the high tide yesterday, and now you're a little bit later. You're an hour later in the morning, okay, with the tide today. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic coming into it, given the rain we had this morning and overcast. You know, where are those bass going to set up during that high tide? Are they going to move back up? Are they going to move to those bluff walls? Are they going to move to structure? Are they going to, you know, what are really they going to do with the change in the weather and the barometric pressure and all those things? That's always the game, you know. So that's just a quick update. Yesterday we had 3 anglers for 15 pounds. I think 3 anglers for 14 pounds, and then we had over a 5-pound bass. I called that. I knew we'd at least get a 5-pounder. 1 5-pound, which is so far the big fish of this event. A little over 5 pounds taken yesterday. I have not gotten a word on the bait in area yet for that. I'm gonna try and dig that up today. See if we can't get that juice and let everybody understand, how it was caught, where it was caught, conditions, all that good stuff. Tackle, rod, reel, all that good stuff. And then we got some really good co-anglers. Remember, co-angler side is 3 fish. Had a guy send me a message last night. He wanted to know why the co-angler bite was down. It's because, guys, the co-angler is 3 fish and the boater is 5. So just keep that in mind. When a guy gets 8 pounds from 3 fish, it's a good day. Okay? A guy gets 10 pounds with 3 fish, that's a good day. All right? And so on the Potomac. So just keep that in mind. A lot of people aren't familiar with that don't follow these things throughout the year. But yeah, co-angler is 3 fish, boater is 5 fish. When you look at the results coming in later on today. A quarter of the field, 25% of the field remains, I guess. So it'll be pretty quick weigh in down at the park. And we'll see if this rain holds off. Okay, we've got a little bit of sun coming up, over Maryland here this morning. But it's been raining pretty good this morning. So we'll see if it lays off and see if we can have a dry weigh in today. Down at the park. Again, if you got any questions, hit me up, message, please like and subscribe. Love all you guys. I'm gonna try and get back to more of this stuff and less of the other BS that's happening in bass fishing with all the forward-facing sonar and disqualification dramas and legal cases and all that. I want to get back to fishing for sure this fall. We got a lot of events coming up this week for us to cover right here. So that's always great. When we got events locally that we can cover, we can talk about, pass along some things. I'm going to drop some bait videos as well this week as well from some of the baits and some of the people I know, were out using these baits, going to be using the baits coming up this week, just to kind of give you a different idea, different perspective of the fishery, from a local perspective, local side, with how some of the techniques the local guys are using, and have been using this year, we'll roll with it, man. I'm really, really excited. Really excited about the events we got coming up the rest of the month here, and being able to get out. Definitely get out for the Toyota Series and really get some coverage out there for that event. I think that's going to be a really, really, really good event. Pigeonholed in here, bookshelf between some of the other events. But like I said, tons of people in town over the next 2 weeks. So it's going to be great. If you love bass fishing and you love tidal Potomac bass fishing, September of 2025 is a great month to be around, because there's a lot of guys in town and there's going to be more coming in. A lot of young guys coming in. Those are some of the guys I love to talk to the most. The young guys, the up and coming guys, the guys that are pushing the envelope with everything. Guys that have never been here before. A lot of these guys coming for this college series have never been to the Potomac River before. So that's always great to be able to have awesome conversations with people, when they explore a new fishery, what they thought of the fishery after the event, what challenged them, what didn't they expect, what they think of the grass compared to other parts of the country. Guys are coming from all over the country, and to get people's take on it. Sometimes it's really great to get outside take on, where you fish predominantly, right? In your backyard, to have someone else's perspective when they come. Because a lot of times we get blinded. I mean, I know we all do. A lot of us will get blinded by baits that we just got to throw that chatter bait, and we find out we've been throwing it for freaking 4.5 hours, right? To like no joy. And it's just like, and then guys come in from other parts of the country with other techniques and other baits and other things, and they smack them. You know what I mean? And so, we got to get out of that. We got to get out of that mentality that because these baits have worked for so many years for us as locals, eventually they shut down. In my opinion, the bass get conditioned to it. Doesn't mean you're not going to catch, 7 or 8 pounds on a jackhammer chatterbait. But these bass have seen those jackhammer chatterbaits now for, 6, 7, 8, I don't know, like forever. When you're talking about 200 boats or 114 boats this weekend, 200 boats midweek, 200 boats potentially on Sunday, then another 100 and so. When you got that many people out there and the predominant bait being thrown are bladed jigs, no one can tell me that fish don't condition to that shit. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me. Yeah, you're going to still catch fish. But a lot of times that guy who gets on the bite that wins or gets the checks cut, that was part of it, but it wasn't the entire game. And those are the stories that I like to learn about, that I like to figure out, diagnose, and break down. Like, how in the hell did that guy catch 15 pounds on a drop shot? Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what was the rig? What was that thing, as opposed to because we all fall back on our normal, just accepted, this is what it is. These are the 3 baits. You know what I mean? And you could apply the same thing to your lake, your reservoir, or your river. When these big events come into town, it's always great to kind of see a different perspective. We saw that back in the summer with how Ott was fishing and some of the other guys, and some of the baits that kind of were not the usual suspects, that you would think that would catch bass that many days over the course of 3 or 4 days, right? And then to just educate ourselves, and then also apply. Why do we watch these events, right? So we can learn to apply, what we learn from the pros to like our own fishing. That's pretty much why we watch this stuff, right? Those things. So we got to be willing to accept that. We got to be willing to I wouldn't have thought that drop shot, I wouldn't have thought of drop shot. So maybe I should give it a shot, right? Maybe I should give that a shot sometime when I'm out in the bay, right? You know what I mean? Just things like that. So I hope I'm delivering that on the channel here. And we'll continue to try and deliver a lot more of that, and less of the other garbage, that's happening. But hope you guys have had are having a great weekend, and we'll touch base with a recap, down at the park, see where we're at with the final, the final bags and final limits today, and to see if we get that 5-pounder beat. I would not be surprised if that gets beat today. But again, we're going to find out who's got trouble with the curve, okay? Because definitely the weather this morning was definitely a curveball. All right, guys.